So we're going to do some Eucomis leaf cuttings. So first of all we need to find our Eucomis, and here is Eucomis pole Evansii, as you can see, and lots of lovely leaves at the bottom. Now the time to do leaf cuttings of Eucomis is in July, and if you do it later they really do not work, so you have to do it in July. And you cut a leaf off like that, as low down as you can get it, so you end up with a leaf like that, removed from the plant. We'll tidy it all up later, and then we'll go a bit further down and we will find more varieties of Eucomis. We've got more pole Evansii, as you can see here, and then we've got another species called Comosa, and this particular one is Comosa Sparkling Burgundy. Again, we'll cut it fairly low, so we'll end up with a leaf that looks like this. And then we have Eucomis bicolour here, and we can give it a go, but in general I found that Eucomis bicolour really does not want to know. Bicolour's got these lovely spots underneath, as you can see, but I don't ever find it very easy if working at all from leaf cuttings. And another really unusual one, Eucomis scherfi, and you can get seed from it, you can divide it, but leaf cuttings are really tricky. I have never succeeded with leaf cuttings from this one. Okay, so here we are, really sharp knife as ever, and then we've got the leaves here. So what you need to remember with Eucomis leaf cuttings is that they must always be the right way up, so they have to be that way up. If you put them that way up, it confuses them, they don't work. So we're going to straighten up the bottom of the leaf like this with a sharp knife. Then we're going to get a seed tray like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut sections which are about 2 centimeters like that, and then each one, as we cut it, we're going to lay it out in order in the bottom of the tray. So they're going to be laid out in the order that you cut them off the leaf in the bottom of the tray. So each piece is coming off and it's being laid down in the proper order. And I say the sharper the knife the better for this job. And if you're looking really carefully, you'll see I'm not cutting the seed tray, which is half the battle. Now, in my opinion, when you get to the soft tip of the leaf, it doesn't work anywhere near as well. So this particular one was Eucomis bicolour, so I'm going to reject the soft tip of the leaf. And so here I've managed to get 5 cuttings. So what we're going to do with those cuttings is we're going to let them dry out for at least 1/4 of an hour. And the drying out process encourages the plant to cauterize, if you like, to dry out the cut edges, and that's quite important that those cut edges are allowed to dry out. Sometimes you can leave it longer than 1/4 of an hour. It just depends on what the temperature is and how sunny it is. Right, so then we've got the Eucomis comosa. Again, we'll straighten up the bottom like that. That's what you do with a blade when you get not sharp enough. Right, so then we're going to go do exactly the same thing. We're going to cut 2 centimeter sections out of the leaf like this, and we're going to lie them down so that the top is always the top and the bottom is always the bottom. And obviously this, you can see this leaf is a lot longer. It's got a lot more good midrib in it, so therefore I'm going to get quite a lot more cuttings from it. And then again, as I get to the tip, I'm going to say that feels a little bit too soft for me, that's not going to work. When I get to that point, somewhere about there, I'm going to say, maybe one more. Well, that really is it, and then that's just going to be rejected. And then this again is going to go and dry out for half an hour or so. And then we'll do this is the Eucomis pole Evans eye. Again, we want to tidy up the bottom so we get the really sharp, clean, straight cut across the bottom, like that. And we'll do exactly the same. And you'll find that when you cut into this leaf, it's a lot thicker, chunkier, and therefore easier to cut up than the other varieties. So therefore I can go a little bit faster. And each piece is going in the right order in the tray, so the top is always the top and the bottom is always the bottom. Okay, and then we'll just bin the top. Okay, right, so they're allowed to dry out for I would say quarter to half an hour, just to get the cut edges to dry out, because that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get the cut edges to dry out. We could use rooting hormone, we could use flowers of sulphur, but in general I found that's not actually really necessary. So here we are. They're all still in exactly the right order. So this is always the top and this is always the bottom. And we're going to stick them in trays of compost, and we're going to make sure that the bottom is always at the bottom. Now what happens, you put them in, and I'll show this in a minute, and you put them in so that only just about that much of the top is showing. So just that much of the top is showing above the compost. And what happens is they sit there through the autumn and into the winter. And if you get them out of the tray, you'll find that the bottom has a whole series of swellings that start appearing on the bottom of the cut piece. And you'll find that there's often more on the central vein than there is on either side. And all you get is the swelling at first, a callousing and a swelling. And then as the season goes on next year, as you move into April and May, those little callous balls turn into little bulbils, and each little bulbil will then make a leaf. And you need to be patient. Leave them alone when they've just made their first leaf. Wait until the second leaf has come, and then each little plant can be potted up. And they really grow so fast. So if you've got a little 2-leaf plant, maybe possibly only a centimetre and a half high, they will grow really, really quickly. Okay, so here we are. We've got a tray full of my compost, and normally I use about 50-50 perlite and compost mix, because the perlite gives a much better drainage. But please remember to wet the perlite first, because the dust is quite dangerous. And then here we have the tray with the leaf sections dried out, and what we're going to do is each leaf section is going to go in here, get wiggled in here, but they must be the right way up. That is to say, the bottom of the leaf, the base of the leaf, has got to be at the bottom of the cutting as it goes into the mixture. So we'll stick these all in here like this. And I'm being very, very careful to make sure they're going in the right way around, but it is important. Okay, so then we need to make sure we label. So I always put in 3 labels. We'll always put 1 label that side, 1 label that side, and 1 label like that, so we can see exactly what it is. So that's going that way up there. Now I think they're a little bit too high, but that was deliberate, so I'm going to go over them with a bit more like this. And again, you do this with your perlite compost mixture, and you're aiming for just the tops of the cuttings to be visible, just enough to be visible, because that's all the cutting needs to make all the food that it needs. It's got a certain amount of food stored in the leaf, and then the access to the light will allow it to make any more food that it actually needs. I'm just fiddling with them there. Make sure that label's visible. And then what I do then is I cover the whole tray with, this is 1/2-inch chicken wire. And the whole tray gets covered up like this. And this will stop mice, it will stop rats. But more importantly than anything else, it will stop the blackbirds stealing the labels, because blackbirds would like to dig in this tray because they think it's the best place to dig, and they love to steal labels. And it's a real problem. So this tray will then sit in a shadier place in a tunnel, always in a tunnel, because remember the leaves are not hardy. So it needs to be somewhere where the leaves are not going to freeze, or the tray's not going to freeze in the winter. And if I think it's going to get very cold, we might stack them up and put bubble wrap over them or something like that. So it is important that they don't get too cold. And then we'll look at them again in the spring.